Florida is catching a break today. Thankfully, those tar balls found in the Keys are not from the Gulf oil leak, but the relief won't last long. Some are saying forecasters believe a thread of oil is already in the loop current, meaning it could reach Florida within 10 days. That is exactly what Senator Bill Nelson has been afraid of.
It is my worst nightmare is apparently becoming reality, because the consequences of this failure could be betting the store for my state.
Democratic Senator from Florida, of course, Bill Nelson, joining us now. Let's talk about where we stand today. What is your best information on that loop current and what the threat is to Florida and the rest of the coast, of course?
It's on the way, Andrea. It'll be in the Florida Keys in 5 days, and it'll be in the Miami area in 10 days. This is a tragedy, but when you have that much oil being spilled in the Gulf of Mexico, the currents are going to go which way the wind blows, and lo and behold, it's been to the south, and that gets it down in the loop current. Pretty soon, the winds will shift. It'll start taking it north to all of those beautiful beaches along northwest Florida.
People are just amazed. I mean, those of us, all of us who believe that scientists can cure things and technology exists for our benefit are just amazed that there is no plan, and the regulators have to bear responsibility for accepting, for granting these permits when it's clear that the oil company did not have a plan in place, not even a backup plan, a plan in place to deal with this kind of catastrophe. What are you going to do about it, you senators?
Well, of course, you can now see why, as we are learning day by day new details, that there was this cozy relationship, that the regulators basically ceded to the oil companies to do what they wanted. And even yesterday, Secretary Salazar said that there are a few bad apples. Well, I think, and most of the employees are great people, the 1,700 people, but what they need to do is they need to bust up MMS into several component parts.
That's the unit within the Interior Department that grants the permits.
That's correct. And Secretary Salazar ought to grab that tree trunk and shake that apple tree and find the other bad apples that are there.
Howard Dean was on earlier on the program, and Senator, he said that this was inherited from the Bush years of lax regulation. But a lot of these permits have been granted in the last year. With all the warnings, with the indictments, the convictions, the problems in Interior, doesn't this administration, this White House, this cabinet secretary have to bear responsibility for not walking in the door and saying, we're looking under the carpet, we're going to check what they're doing here, and we're not going to proceed with any more permits until we find out how the regulations are being impacted?
Absolutely. And I think that's what Secretary Salazar has tried by saying no more permits until we get to the bottom of this. And, of course, what I've argued to him and others, no more permits on any new exploration until we get to the bottom of this long-term investigation. And that's going to take months and months, Andrew.
The Senate leadership now calling for an inspection, to all of the existing rigs. We're talking about more than 30,000 rigs out there. Shouldn't this already be in place?
You would hope that it would have been in place, but we are where we are, and they're inspecting them now. Now what we've got to do is we got to raise this artificial limit of $75 million of liability. I mean, you can think of the economic loss that is going to result, and the bill that I've filed along with Menendez is $10 billion. Limit to liability. I'm not even sure that's enough.
Are you satisfied with the answers so far from BP, from the rig, Transocean, from Halliburton, from all the others who are involved, that they will take care of all of the damages involved?
No, and you notice they are now pointing the fingers at each other. you're going to have massive lawsuits. And give you another example. It took us having to go in, Senator Boxer and me, and virtually beat them over the head to release those new videos that you got yesterday. And why didn't they want to release them? Well, it's obvious when you see all of that oil that's gushing out down there.
We can play a little bit of that video that you got released. It shows exactly how much oil and gas. I mean, we don't know how much, but it shows the volumes and the effects. And you can realize right away that with the currents and the other conditions that it is spreading faster than anyone can contain it. There's the human dimension already. Congressman Cowell at today's hearings talked about the impact on the people down there who are trying to fish for a living. Let's watch.
The economic, psychological, and mental impacts of the people in the region has been devastating. I have heard from fishermen who are even contemplating suicide.
Are you satisfied so far with the administration's response, Senator?
Until we get to the bottom of this, I'm not satisfied, but I know Secretary Salazar to be a good man, and I know he's doing everything that he can.
Senator Bill Nelson, thanks very much. Thanks for everything you're doing on this from Florida.
Thanks, Andrew.
And up next.